I told my husband his grieving son should have died with his mother, after I gave the kid's PS5 to his bully, forced him to apologize for defending himself, ignored months of abuse about his dead mom, lost my marriage, my job, my family, and became the villain everyone warns you about, now living alone with nothing but the echo of the cruelest words I ever said. I said it. I actually said it out loud. Maybe he should have died in that car with her. The words hung in the air like poison. My husband stood in the doorway of our bedroom, his face completely blank. Not angry. Not hurt. Just empty. Like I just confirmed something he'd suspected all along but hoped wasn't true. I'm writing this from my sister's couch at 2 a.m. because I have nowhere else to go and I need someone, anyone, to understand how completely I destroyed my life in the span of 3 weeks. Not for sympathy. I don't deserve that. But because maybe if I write it all down, I can figure out how I became this person. 3 weeks ago, I was married to the most patient man I'd ever met. We'd been together for 2 years, married for 8 months. He had a son, Liam, who was 11. Liam had a stutter. Not all the time, just when he got nervous or upset. And he'd lost his mother in a car accident when he was 7. I knew these things when I married John. I thought I was ready. I thought I loved Liam. I told myself I'd be the mother figure he needed. I was lying. To John. To Liam. To myself. The truth is, I resented Liam from the start. Every time John talked about his late wife, Emily, I felt this ugly jealousy crawl up my throat. Every time Liam stuttered, I felt impatient. Annoyed. Like he was doing it on purpose to get attention. I know how that sounds. I know what that makes me. The school situation started about a month ago. Liam came home with his backpack ripped. John asked what happened, and Liam just shrugged, wouldn't make eye contact. The stutter got worse that week. He tried to tell us about his day and get stuck on words, his face going red, and I'd feel this horrible frustration building in my chest. Just spit it out, Liam, I snapped one night at dinner. John's head whipped toward me. Don't talk to him like that. I'm just trying to help him get through it faster, I said. Liam stared at his plate. Didn't say another word the rest of the meal. 2 weeks later, John's work friend mentioned that her daughter went to Liam's school. She'd heard some kids were giving Liam a hard time. Making fun of his stutter. Saying cruel things about his mom being dead. There was one kid in particular, Mason, who seemed to be the ringleader. John wanted to go to the school immediately. March into the principal's office. I talked him out of it. You'll just make it worse, I said. Kids need to learn to handle things themselves. If you go running in there, Liam will be labeled a tattletale and it'll get 10 times worse. John looked uncertain. I don't know. This sounds serious. Trust me. I dealt with bullies when I was a kid. The best thing is to ignore them. They get bored and move on. He believed me. God, he actually believed I had Liam's best interests at heart. The truth? I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to take time off work for school meetings. I didn't want to be that stepmom fighting battles for a kid who, if I'm being honest, I saw as a constant reminder that I'd never be John's first choice. That Emily would always be the one who mattered. So I did nothing. Worse than nothing. When Liam tried to tell John about what was happening, I'd minimize it. Boys will be boys. It's just part of growing up. You're being too sensitive. John started to pull back from pushing the issue. I watched it happen. I watched my husband start to doubt his own instincts about protecting his son because I kept telling him everything was fine. It wasn't fine. 3 weeks ago, Liam came home with a black eye. His shirt was torn. There was a scrape on his cheek. John went ballistic. That's it. I'm calling the school right now. Wait, Liam said, the stutter heavy. I hit him back. John stopped. You what? Mason kept saying. He kept saying Mom killed herself because she didn't want to be around me anymore. That she drove into that truck on purpose. Told him to stop and he wouldn't, so I pushed him and he fell and hit his head on the desk. Then I punched him. My husband looked like he wanted to cry and cheer at the same time. Liam, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself, but we can't solve things with violence. We need to tell the school what Mason's been saying and what led to this. That's when I made my first catastrophic choice. Absolutely not, I said. Liam threw the first punch. He could get expelled. We need to handle this quietly. John stared at me. Handle it how? Mason's mother is on the PTA. I've seen her at school events. I'll talk to her, smooth things over. But Liam needs to understand there are consequences for hitting people, no matter what they say. He was defending himself from months of abuse, John said slowly. He was being violent. What kind of message does it send if we don't punish him? I watched my husband's face. I watched him doubt himself again. I watched him defer to me because I positioned myself as the one who knew how schools worked, who understood kids. Fine, John finally said. But nothing too harsh. I grounded Liam for 2 weeks. Took away his PS5. He'd saved up for a year to buy that thing himself. It was the one thing that made him happy, the one place where his stutter didn't matter because he could just play and be a normal kid. I took it to Mason's house the next day. Mason's mother, Jennifer, answered the door with Mason standing behind her, a small bruise on his forehead. She looked me up and down like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. "I'm so sorry about what Liam did," I gushed. "We were horrified when we found out. We've grounded him and taken away his video game console. I thought Mason might like to have it as an apology." Jennifer's expression shifted from hostile to surprised to smug in about 3 seconds. "Well, that's very generous of you." Mason grabbed the PS5 like it was Christmas morning. He didn't even say thank you. "I think it would be appropriate for Liam to apologize in person," Jennifer said. "To Mason and to me. What he did was unacceptable." Every instinct I had left screamed that this was wrong. That I was betraying this kid who'd already lost so much. But my pride, my need to be liked by this PTA woman, my resentment toward Liam. It all drowned out that voice. "Of course," I said. "I'll bring him by tomorrow." The next day, I made Liam get in the car. He was silent the whole ride. John was at work. He didn't know I was doing this. At Mason's door, I made Liam apologize. He could barely get the words out through the stutter. Mason smirked the entire time. Jennifer accepted the apology with this condescending pat on Liam's head. "I hope you've learned your lesson," she said. In the car on the way home, Liam asked in the smallest voice I'd ever heard, "See, can I have my PS5 back after I'm ungrounded?" "No," I said. "I gave it to Mason. Actions have consequences." He didn't cry. He just turned and looked out the window. And I felt nothing. No guilt. No empathy. Nothing. That should have been my wake-up call. The fact that I felt nothing while destroying a grieving child should have terrified me. It didn't. John found out that night. Liam wouldn't come out of his room for dinner. John went to check on him and found him crying silently into his pillow. It took 20 minutes for Liam to tell him what I'd done. My husband came downstairs with a look on his face I'd never seen before. "You did what?" His voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. "I handled it," I said. Mason's mother was ready to press charges. I smoothed it over. By giving away Liam's PS5. That he bought himself. To the kid who's been tormenting him for months. He needed to learn that violence isn't the answer. He needed to learn that his stepmother would protect him. John's voice cracked. He needed to know that someone in this house was on his side. Instead, you sided with this bully. You made him apologize to the kid who told him his dead mother killed herself to get away from him. I was trying to keep him from getting expelled. You were trying to avoid being inconvenienced, John shouted. You were trying to look good in front of some PTA mom. You've never cared about Liam. I've watched you. The way you talked to him. The impatience. The dismissal. I kept telling myself I was imagining it, that you were just adjusting. But this? This is unforgivable. We screamed at each other for an hour. He slept in Liam's room that night. I heard him through the door, crying with his son, apologizing over and over for not protecting him. The next morning, John barely looked at me. He took Liam to school himself. When he came home, he said he'd gone to the principal, told them everything Mason had been saying and doing. The school was investigating. You should have done that weeks ago, I snapped. You're right, he said. I should have. I should have ignored you and protected my son. I won't make that mistake again. We lived in cold silence for a week. John moved into the guest room. He was looking at me like he didn't know who I was. Like he was mourning the person he thought he'd married. Then came the fight that ended everything. Liam had a nightmare. I heard him crying down the hall around 2 a.m. John got up to comfort him. I heard them talking quietly, John's low voice soothing, Liam's stuttered words about his mom, about missing her, about how he wished she was here instead of me. That ugly jealousy just exploded out of me. I stormed down the hall and stood in the doorway of Liam's room. Can we please just have one night without the drama? Some of us have work in the morning. John's eyes went cold. Get out. This is my house too. Get out. I went back to the bedroom. But I was furious. Seething. When John came back 20 minutes later, I I was ready for war. I'm tired of walking on eggshells around him, I hissed. I'm tired of everything revolving around Liam and his issues and his dead mother. Don't, John warned. It's been 4 years, John. 4 years? When does he move on? When do we get to have a normal life? His mother died. He's 11. There is no moving on. There's only learning to live with it. Well, I can't live like this. I was screaming now, not caring if Liam heard. I can't live in the shadow of a dead woman. I can't compete with a ghost. And I'm tired of pretending I care about a kid who will never accept me because he's too busy wallowing in grief. John stood there, shaking. You need to stop talking. Right now. Why? Because you can't handle the truth? You know what the truth is? Your son is weak. He's pathetic. He can't even speak properly. He lets himself get bullied and then acts like the victim. Maybe if he'd been stronger, if he'd been less needy, Emily wouldn't have been so distracted driving him around to therapists and special programs. Maybe then she'd still be alive. I was so far gone in my rage that I didn't even realize what I was building to. Didn't realize the cliff I was about to drive us off. Maybe, I spat, he should have died in that car with her. Then you could have moved on. Then we could have had a real life instead of this. This memorial to your perfect first family. The silence that followed was absolute. John didn't yell. Didn't cry. Didn't move. He just looked at me with complete and utter disgust. Then he said, pack a bag. Be gone in an hour. I'll file for divorce in the morning. John. If you're here when I come back, I'm calling the police. You will never speak to my son again. You will never contact either of us. If I see you, I will cross the street. We will be strangers. You don't exist to us anymore. He walked out. I heard him go into Liam's room. Heard him say, pack some clothes, buddy. We're going to Grandma's for a few days. I heard Liam's small voice, did I? Did I make her mad? And John's response broke something in me that I didn't know could break. No, Liam. You did nothing wrong. You've never done anything wrong. She did. And I promise you, I will never let anyone hurt you like this again. They left. I stood in our bedroom, shaking, as the reality of what I'd said crashed over me. I told a grieving child he should have died with his mother. I told my husband his son should be dead. There's no coming back from that. I'm sitting here on my sister's couch and I can't stop replaying it. The look on John's face. The way Liam's voice cracked when he asked if he'd made me mad. The sound of the door closing behind them. My sister asked me what happened. I couldn't tell her. I can't tell anyone what I said. They'd never look at me the same way again. Nobody knows I'm here except John, and only because his lawyer needed an address to send the divorce papers. I got them yesterday. The divorce papers arrived at my sister's apartment 6 days after John and Liam left. I'd been checking my phone obsessively, switching between wanting John to call and dreading it. He never did. The papers were brutally simple. Dissolution of marriage. Division of assets. No alimony because we'd been married less than a year. He was keeping the house because it was his before we married. I had 30 days to collect my belongings, supervised by his lawyer. There was a restraining order attached. I was not to contact John or Liam directly or indirectly. No calls, texts, emails, social media. I was not to go near their home, Liam's school, or John's workplace. Violation would result in immediate legal action. I stared at that restraining order for hours. This was real. This was permanent. My sister finally asked me what happened. I gave her some vague story about irreconcilable differences, growing apart. She looked at me like she knew I was lying but was too polite to push. That lasted 2 days. Then John's mother called her. They'd been friendly, had each other's numbers from the wedding. Apparently, John's mom wanted to make sure I understood exactly what I'd done, in case I was planning to play the victim. My sister's face when she hung up. I'll never forget it. Tell me you didn't say that to that little boy. I couldn't look at her. Jesus Christ, she whispered. Get out. What? Get out of my apartment. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I'm not having someone who could say that to a child around her. Pack your stuff and leave. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Figure it out. I ended up at a cheap motel for a week, burning through my savings. I still had my job, at least. I worked in marketing for a mid-sized company. I'd taken the week off, told them it was a family emergency. When I went back, I knew something was wrong immediately. People were looking at me differently. Conversations stopped when I entered the break room. My boss called me in on my second day back. We need to talk about your social media presence, she said. My stomach dropped. What about it? Several employees have brought to our attention some concerning posts from parents at Liam Morrison's school. Oh God. What posts? She turned her computer screen toward me. It was a Facebook post from Jennifer, Mason's mother. The PTA mom I tried so hard to impress. The post had my name. My full name. And it detailed everything. How I'd given away Liam's PS5 to Mason. How I'd made Liam apologize to his bully. How the school had investigated and found that Mason had been tormenting Liam for months, saying horrific things about his dead mother. How I'd known and done nothing. But that wasn't the worst part. Someone had commented asking why I'd do such a thing. And Jennifer had replied, I heard from someone close to the family that she told her husband the boy should have died with his mother. Can you imagine? What kind of monster says that to a grieving child? The post had 847 shares. The comments were vicious. Hundreds of people calling me evil, a narcissist, a child abuser. Someone had found my Instagram and LinkedIn and posted the links. People were messaging my employer. Is it true? My boss asked. I wanted to lie. God, I wanted to lie so badly. But what was the point? I said it to my husband, I whispered. I didn't. Liam wasn't supposed to hear. But you said it. You meant it. I couldn't answer. We're letting you go, she said. Effective immediately. We can't have this kind of publicity associated with our brand. You'll receive 2 weeks severance. Security will escort you out. I was walked out of the building like a criminal. People I'd worked with for 3 years wouldn't meet my eyes. I sat in my car in the parking lot and realized I had nowhere to go. No job. No husband. No family who would take me in. The motel was draining my savings fast. I tried to delete my social media accounts, but the screenshots were already everywhere. Someone had made a TikTok about me. It had 2.3 million views. The comments were calling for my address to be posted, for me to be dealt with. I had to move motels 3 times because people found out where I was staying. My parents called. I hadn't talked to them since the wedding. They'd never been particularly involved in my life, but we were cordial. Not anymore. We saw the posts, my mother said. Please tell us they're exaggerating. I made a mistake, I said. I said something horrible in the heat of the moment. You told a child he should be dead. I told my husband. Liam wasn't supposed to. It doesn't matter who you told it to. My mother shouted. You thought it. What is wrong with you? I don't know, I sobbed. I don't know. I was angry and jealous and I snapped. We didn't raise you to be this person. I know. Don't contact us again. We want nothing to do with this. They hung up. I had no one. I spent days in my motel room, obsessively reading the posts about me. Torturing myself with the comments. Each one was a fresh knife, but I couldn't stop. I deserved every word. Someone found out where John and Liam were staying, at his mother's house, and posted supportive messages on a community group. The outpouring of love for them was massive. Offers of free therapy for Liam. Gift cards. A new PS5 from a local gaming store owner who'd heard the story. I should have been happy for Liam. Instead, I felt this sick envy. Even in my absolute destruction, I was still that petty, jealous person. I tried to write John a letter. Apologizing. Begging forgiveness. I wrote 17 drafts. I never sent any of them. What could I possibly say? Sorry I told you your traumatized son should be dead? Sorry I spent months emotionally neglecting and punishing a child for the crime of existing? Sorry I'm exactly as terrible as you now know I am? The restraining order meant I couldn't send it anyway. 3 weeks after John left, I drove past our old house. I know I wasn't supposed to. I just needed to see it. There was a moving truck outside. John was leaving. Starting over somewhere I'd never find them. I watched from down the street as movers carried out boxes. Liam came out at one point, carrying his new PS5. He looked lighter. Like a weight had been lifted. I'd been the weight. John's mother hugged him, ruffled his hair. He was smiling. I hadn't seen Liam really smile in the entire time I'd known him. He smiled more in the 30 seconds I watched him without me in his life than he had in 2 years with me in it. That's when it really hit me. I hadn't just destroyed my marriage. I'd been destroying that child slowly, day by day, with my resentment and impatience and cruelty. And now that I was gone, he could finally heal. I was the villain. I was the monster in a grieving child's life. I was the evil stepmother from every cautionary tale, except this was real and I'd done real damage to a real kid who'd already been through hell. I drove back to the motel and looked at my life. 29 years old. No job. No family. No friends, they'd all seen the posts and stopped responding. Savings running out fast. Living in a motel because I couldn't get an apartment without employment verification. I tried to apply for jobs. Every single one ghosted me after the initial screening. My name was too recognizable now. One HR person was kind enough to tell me off the record, "Your online presence makes you unhireable. You're a liability." I tried using my middle name on applications. Didn't help. Background checks found me anyway. I ended up working at a gas station an hour away from where I used to live, under a manager who knew my story but needed someone for the night shift badly enough to overlook it. The pay is minimum wage. I can barely afford rent on a studio apartment in the worst part of town. I see kids come in sometimes with their parents. Normal families. Happy families. I see stepmothers being kind to their stepchildren. I see what I should have been. Last week, a boy around Liam's age came in with his stepmom. He had a stutter. Not as bad as Liam's, but noticeable. He was trying to ask for something and getting stuck on the words. His stepmom put her hand on his shoulder. "Take your time, buddy. No rush." She waited patiently while he worked through it. When he finally got the words out, she smiled and said, "Good job. You got it." The kid beamed at her. I had to go to the bathroom and cry. That could have been me. That should have been me. I had every opportunity to be that person for Liam. Instead, I chose cruelty. I chose resentment. I chose to punish a child for having the audacity to grieve his mother and need support from his father. I've been trying to figure out how I became this person. I've thought about it every single day for 3 months now. The truth? I was always this person. I just hid it better before. The jealousy, the impatience, the need to be the center of attention, the inability to handle someone else's pain without making it about me. That was always there. John didn't turn me into a monster. Liam didn't make me cruel. I was already both those things. They just gave me opportunities to show it. I've tried therapy. The first 3 therapists I contacted refused to take me on after I explained the situation. One told me, "I work primarily with children and trauma survivors. I don't think I could remain objective with you." The 4th agreed to see me. We've had 6 sessions. She's helped me understand some things. How my own insecurities made me incapable of empathy. How I saw Liam as competition rather than a child who needed support. How I dehumanized him to justify my cruelty. Understanding it doesn't fix it. Understanding it doesn't undo what I did. She asked me last session if I tried to make amends. "I can't," I said. "There's a restraining order. And even if there wasn't, what could I possibly say? How do you apologize for telling someone their child should be dead?" "You can't," she said quietly. "Some things can't be fixed with an apology. Some damage is permanent." I think about Liam every day. I wonder if he still has nightmares. I wonder if he thinks about what I said. I wonder if I added to his trauma in ways that will take years to unpack in therapy. I hope he's okay. I hope John found someone better. Someone kind. Someone who treats Liam the way he deserves. I hope they're happy. I hope I'm forgotten. That's what I deserve. To be forgotten. To be the cautionary tale mothers tell their children about what happens when you let jealousy and resentment poison your heart. I don't get forgiveness. I don't get redemption. I don't get a second chance. I work my night shifts at the gas station. I come home to my empty studio apartment. I eat alone. I sleep alone. I exist alone. And every single day, I hear my own voice saying those words, "Maybe he should have died in that car with her." Every single day, I see John's face going empty. Liam's small voice asking if he made me mad. This is my life now. This is what I chose when I chose cruelty over compassion. When I chose my pride over a child's well-being. When I chose to be the villain in a little boy's story. I saw a post last month, someone from John's new town. They mentioned seeing a man and his son at a park, the kid laughing and playing without a stutter in sight. "So nice to see happy families," the post said. I think it was them. I hope it was them. I hope Liam plays video games with friends who are kind to him. I hope he has teachers who are patient with his stutter. I hope he has people in his life who protect him instead of punishing him for existing. I hope he never thinks about me at all. Last night, I dreamed I was at that crash site. The one where Emily died. In the dream, I saw her pull Liam out of the car before it exploded. She was holding him, telling him everything would be okay. Then she looked at me and said, "Stay away from my son." I woke up sobbing. I'm writing this from my apartment at 4 a.m. because I can't sleep. Because I need to confess to someone, even if it's just strangers on the internet who will rightfully hate me. I destroyed a child's sense of safety in his own home. I betrayed my husband's trust in the worst way imaginable. I gave away a traumatized kid's prized possession to his bully. I made him apologize for defending himself. I allowed him to be tormented because it was inconvenient for me to care. And then I told his father he should have died. There's no coming back from that. There's no redemption arc. There's no moment where I suddenly become a better person and everyone forgives me. This is it. This is my life. Alone. Hated. Knowing I earned every bit of it. If you're reading this and you're a step-parent, or about to become one, learn from my catastrophic failure. If you can't love your partner's child, or at least treat them with basic human decency, leave. Walk away before you do damage that can never be undone. If you feel resentment toward a child for existing, get therapy immediately. Don't wait until you've destroyed them. If you're competing with a dead parent for attention, you've already lost. And you deserve to lose. Don't be me. Don't do what I did. Don't wait until you've said the unforgivable to realize you're the villain. I'm 29 years old. I have 50+ years left to live with what I've done. 50 years of knowing I broke a child who was already broken. 50 years of knowing I'm the monster in a little boy's nightmares. 50 years of knowing that the best thing I ever did for Liam was leave. That's my legacy. That's my warning. I hope it's enough to stop someone else from making my mistakes. I hope Liam never stutters again. And I hope he never, ever has to think about the woman who told his father he should be dead.